NFL fans, welcome back to the J All Day channel. I'm on my lunch break and we're going to do a week 1 spreads video where I give my opinion on whether or not these teams can beat the spread and who I'm taking in these games when we account the spread for week 1 NFL games. All right, let's get into it. We have a 2.5 point spread for the Ravens at the Chiefs. I think I'm going with the Chiefs and minus 2.5. There's a ton of turnover on that Baltimore Ravens whole entire team, really. So I just like the way the Chiefs are set up this year. Xavier Worthy has been crushing it at camp. Him and Patrick Mahomes seem to be on the same page. I think they can win this game by a field goal, and that puts them under the 2.5 point spread. I like the Chiefs and the minus 2.5 points. All right, let's move on to the Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, not really at the Philadelphia Eagles because this game is on a Friday night in Brazil. The Eagles are giving up 1.5 points. So I'm taking the Packers and the 1.5 points all day long. I think the Packers can win this game outright. The Eagles have a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, a new defensive coordinator and Vic Fangio. A lot of moving parts on that defense. Their second-round pick, Cooper DeJean, is battling a hamstring injury. No more Fletcher Cox, right? And then who's going to start outside at the cornerback position other than Darius Slay? It looks like Isaiah Rodgers, who was formerly with the Colts, is going to be starting out there. I don't really love their linebackers. I like that young core for the Packers. I'm taking the Packers under 1.5 points. And then the Titans are getting 4.5 points over the Chicago Bears. I think this is kind of a hype line, guys. We know they got all the free agents, right? They got Keenan Allen. They brought in Swift. And they also drafted really well with Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. But these are a lot of new moving parts on that offense. You think they're going to go and blow out the Titans, who got considerably better, especially at the cornerback position, bringing in Snead from the Chiefs and Awuzie from the Bengals. They improved a lot on defense, especially in that secondary. I just don't think that they're going to be able to beat the Titans by 4.5 points. I'm taking the Titans and those 4.5 points. Then we move on to the Steelers at the Falcons. Man, this is a really tough game. If you're going to be betting week 1, I would avoid this game at all costs. But I have to take the Steelers and the 3 points. I think this is going to be a really close game. The Steelers have a really good defense. Probably the 2 best outside linebackers / edge rushers in the NFL, led by TJ Watt. Kirk Cousins, new team, new offensive coordinator, coming off that Achilles injury. I don't like this game with -3 for the Falcons. I'm taking the Steelers and the 3 points. Then we move on to the Jaguars at the Dolphins. People have been commenting on my opinion of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I just continue to think that Trevor Lawrence doesn't have the weapons to keep up with the Dolphins and that high-powered offense with Tyreek Hill, A-Chain, Waddle, Tua. Their offensive line is not as good as it was last year, in my opinion, but I think the Dolphins can cover this 3.5 point spread. I'm going with the Dolphins at -3.5. Then we have the New England Patriots traveling on the road to the Bengals. Joe Burrow is back. It looks like May is probably going to be the backup to Jacoby Brissett. I've seen this line all over the place. I've seen it all the way up to 9. 7.5, I like it a little bit more for the Bengals. But, man, it's a tough spread. 7.5 points. If this goes under 7, I'm taking the Bengals all day. But begrudgingly, I have to take the Patriots at plus 7.5, right? Joe Burrow's coming off that injury. They lost their offensive coordinator. So the Patriots have a really good defense. They were probably a top 3 defense the second half of the year last year. So they might be able to keep this game close. So we'll see what happens. But in this situation, another game I don't necessarily want to bet. But if I had a gun to my head, Patriots, I'll take them and the 7.5 points. Then we have a pretty much pick-em game. Houston Texans at the Colts. Colts are getting 1.5 points at home, which might not be a bad pick. It's always good to take home teams and the points, right? But it's only 1.5. I think the Texans cover, man. This is a really, really close game. I like the Colts roster. I just like the Texans roster a little bit better in this particular situation. I think CJ Stroud can get it done. Anthony Richardson coming off that injury might be a little bit rusty. I'm going with the Texans and -1.5. Then we have the Giants at home, also getting 1.5 points versus the Vikings. The more I study these rosters, I've been going back and forth because the Giants adding Brian Burns to help Dexter Lawrence gives them a very formidable defensive line. But they have a horrible cornerback situation. So that's where I'm kind of torn, right? Jordan Addison got that DUI. Is he going to play week 1? We'll have to see how that plays out as we get closer to game day. It looks like Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, but if Addison plays, they got Addison, Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson. Ugh, God, I don't know. I'm going with the Vikings in -1.5 points. I think the roster is just a little bit better right now. But if the Giants won this game outright, I would not be surprised. Another game I'm not thrilled to bet. Then we have the Panthers on the road versus the Saints. They lost their right tackle Ramczyk for the rest of the year. The Saints did. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers and the 4.5 points. I think this is going to be a field goal game either way, and that puts the Panthers winning with 4.5 points. I love the Panthers and 4.5 points. If this balloons up even more to say 5.5 points, the Panthers are in play, in my opinion. Cardinals +7 or the Bills at -7. I'm taking the Cardinals and the points, man. Early game. Josh Allen has a lot of new pieces, both on offense and the defense, missing a lot of veterans there. I think the Cardinals keep this game close. I like taking teams with big spreads early in the season because if the Cardinals won this game, I wouldn't be surprised. And if the Bills only won by 3 or 5 or even 6, I wouldn't be surprised either. So that's why I'm going with the Cardinals here. And then the Chargers at home versus the Raiders. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. This is one of my favorite games. Very interesting game. I really want to see where these teams are at. I'm taking the Raiders and the points, right? I don't think the Chargers are going to score at all. So if they win by 3 points, it's a push. I'd rather take the Raiders and the points in this particular situation. Then we have the Cowboys are favorites on the road versus the Browns. These are done by FanDuel, guys, so we'll have to keep an eye on these lines as we get closer and closer to kickoff. But I'm taking the Browns and the points all day long. I think the Cowboys are really going to struggle to score points, right? Their defense is pretty formidable still, in my opinion, with Micah Parsons and company, but they're going to be starting 2 rookies on the offensive line. The running back situation is suspect. CeeDee Lamb's holding out. Cooks is pretty old. I like Ferguson, but he's just okay. I'm taking the Browns and the points. And then we have the Commanders on the road versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, -4.5. I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to cover the 4.5 point spread. Todd Bowles does a lot of weird stuff at the line of scrimmage. He does a lot of fake blitzes, moving people around, different kinds of looks. I think it's going to confuse the rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I'm taking the Buccaneers and the 4.5 points. Pretty much the whole team is coming back from last year. Mike Evans signed that 2-year deal. I like Tampa Bay here. And then I like the Seattle Seahawks too at home at -4.5. I think their defense is okay. It's not as good. They got a new defensive coordinator, head coach situation going on there. So I like them to confuse the rookie quarterback. Going to Seattle to play is really tough. The way that stadium is shaped, it's really loud. And especially on the field, man, it's crazy loud. I think the Seahawks cover that 4.5 points. And then we have the Lions at home versus the Rams. At 3.5 points, I'm taking the Rams. I think the Lions win this game, but they're only going to win by 1, 2, maybe 3 points. So that's why I think the Rams can cover this 3.5 point spread. And then the same thing, I like the Jets to cover the 6.5 point spread on the road versus San Francisco. The Jets, in my opinion, have the best defense in the entire NFL. They are not going to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Jets team by 6.5 points. I just don't see it happening at all whatsoever. I'm taking the Jets, guys. All right, let me know in the comments below. You like my picks? Am I an absolute dipshit? I would love to know in the comments below. And give me your opinion on these picks, right? Who do you like with the spreads, right? And who do you like outright? I would love to know in the comments. If you like these kind of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Peace.